In today's lesson, as we take on the second day of Unit 2, we continue our work with solving equations. Our equations are going to involve doing two steps. To solve a two-step equation, recall that we evaluate algebraic expressions by using PEMDAS. And when we do solving an equation, we do reverse ordered operations. So we do the inverse operations in reverse order. So instead of starting with parentheses to solve an equation, we're actually going to look to do subtraction and addition. So we're going to think not PEMDAS, but SADMEP. Remember, the inverse operations are subtraction undoes addition, addition undoes subtraction, division undoes multiplication, and multiplication undoes division. Let's take a look at an example. Solve the equation 4x plus 3 equals 11. So here's our equation, 4x plus 3 equals 11. Notice that we want to start by undoing the addition. Here's the variable on the left side, so everything we do is going to be the left side of the equal sign. They've added 3, so the first thing we'll do is subtract 3 from both sides. Remember, do unto one side as you do unto the other. When we subtract 3 on both sides, we end up with the result of 4x equals 8. 4x means 4 times x, so therefore we have to undo the multiplication with division. So we'll divide both sides by 4, and the result is x equals 2. Remember, the solution is a value of the variable that makes the equation true. So what we want to do is we want to plug that value in. We're checking our solution by putting 2 into the equation, 4 times 2 plus 3. We'll evaluate this left side, following order of ops this time because we're evaluating. Multiplication comes first, 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 then is 11. Both sides are the same. Take a look at example 2. Solve the equation 2/3 x minus 6 equals 14. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write down the equation. As we mentioned, even though you're doing this on Chromebooks, you still need to write down your problems. So here, looking for subtractions first, they subtracted 6, so we add 6 to both sides. Remember, it's both sides of the equal sign. Minus 6 plus 6 will cancel themselves out. 14 plus 6 gives us 20. Now, remember, technically they're multiplying 2/3 times x. So we would have to divide. But when you have to divide fractions, we use the reciprocal. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to multiply each side by the reciprocal of our coefficient. Our coefficient is 2/3. Its reciprocal is flipped, so it's 3/2. Over here on the left side, the 3's and the 2's cancel, leaving us with just x. Remember that 20 would be 20 over 1, so 3 times 20 gives us 60. 2 times 1 would give us 2. So 60 divided by 2, and that comes up to be 30. Again, we'll check our solution. To do that, we put 30 in for x in the original problem. 2/3 times 30, remember this is really 30 over 1. So 2 times 30 is 60, 3 times 1 is 3. So we get 60 over 3, and 60 over 3 is 20. Doing our division first. 20 minus 6, 14 equals 14, and thus we find our solution, and it's true because it makes both sides of the equation equal the same number. Take a look at example 3. Solve the equation 22 equals 18 minus 1/4 x. Now in this case, the x happens to be on the right side of the equal sign. So everything we do is going to be based upon the right. And the first thing we have to do is we have to get rid of the 18. So we look in front of the 18. There's nothing there, so it's positive. So therefore we have to subtract 18 on both sides. That'll get the 18 off the right side, leaving us with just the variable term of negative 1/4 x. 22 take away 18 is 4. Again, we have a fraction for the coefficient, so therefore we want to multiply by its reciprocal, and the reciprocal of negative 1/4 would be negative 4/1. And since this is negative, I'm going to multiply by a negative to make it positive. So we're multiplying both sides by negative 4/1, or simply negative 4. Negative 4 times 4 on the left gives us negative 16. Negative 4 times 1/4 x, the 4's cancel out, and we just get x. And again, we can check our solution. To check the solution, we take the answer that we get, and we plug it into the problem. So x equals negative 16, so I notice I replace the x with negative 16. I have to multiply first because we're going to evaluate this right side because that's where the operations are. Negative 1/4 times negative 16, two negatives. When you multiply, remember, same signs are positive, so negative times negative makes positive. This is really 16/1, remember. So 1 times 16 is 16, 4 times 1 is 4. 16 divided by 4 would then be our 4. And 18 plus 4 is 22. And thus, we have our solution. And it does check because it gives us the same value on both sides of the equal sign. In our final example, it's an application problem. We're going to have to write our own equation. So here's our scenario. The bill, parts and labor, for the repair of a car was $458. The cost of parts was $339. The cost of labor was $34 per hour. Write and solve an equation to find the number of hours of labor. Well, when we do this, parts and labor together, well, together, combined, total means addition. So parts plus labor gives us our total. We can see for parts, that was our $339. For labor, it's $34 per hour. So that means they're going to keep paying that 34 over and over and over and over again. And remember, as we talked about last week in this unit, repeated addition means multiplication. So our parts, the 339, the labor, 34x. Whenever you do something over and over, per technically means division, so we do the opposite when we're at the equation, 34 times x. Solving this, you can see that x is sitting here on the left side of the equal sign, so we undo this 339 first. So we'll subtract the 339 on both sides. We look in front of the constant. In front of the 339 is positive, therefore we have to take it away by subtraction. That leaves us with 34x equals 119. 34 times x, so we undo that by division, showing our fraction bar along the way. Divide both sides by 34, and using our calculators, we discover that x equals 3.5. So that concludes our lesson on two-step equations, and your goal is now to work on your Math Excel assignment.